Okay, in this segment we're going to cover bunkers. Now I've spoke on bunkers many times previously, covering a lot of different specific rules throughout the video series, but this one we're going to focus specifically on the rules just pertaining to bunkers themselves. Genuinely speaking, bunkers are going to be placed onto the map during your setup part, when you're reading over your scenario, things like that. Occasionally you will have some that pop up due to events, but that's not too often. Generally you're going to place them when you're setting up your scenario. Usually they're going to be a +2 or a +3 modifier. The one that I've got laid out here is a +2. And you're not going to set them up in any buildings or huts or any water hexes. So you couldn't place a bunker on any of these buildings here or this building up over here. Also, during your rally phase, the bunker is going to count as positive terrain. So units inside the bunker would be getting that rally modifier of -2 when they were making a rally attempt. Also, you can't have another fortification in the hex, but you can have things like wires and mines in the hex. So basically you can't double up fortifications. You can't take and put 2 bunkers into a single hex and then, try to add their target modifier together or have them both in the hex separately. It doesn't work that way. You only have 1 bunker per hex. Also, mounted units, vehicles, non-machine gun weapon teams, they're not going to be setting up or entering bunkers during your scenarios. I've spoke about it previously that bunkers are similar to the upper floors of a building in the fact that they are a hex within a hex. So you either have units in the bunker or on the bunker, but they're in the same hex on the map. So like the ones that I've got here laid out, these German units, there's one who's underneath the bunker counter, so he's considered in the bunker, while this leader and other squad, they're considered outside the bunker itself. If they wanted to take and enter the bunker, it would cost them 2 movement points. Likewise, if the guy inside the bunker wanted to leave, it would cost him 2 movement points as well. However, if you're wanting to enter the hex containing a bunker, then you're paying the movement point cost of whatever the hex itself is. In this case, it's a 1 movement point to enter the open terrain. So you would pay just 1 to enter the hex containing the bunker, but 2 to enter or leave the bunker. You can see on the front of the bunker counter itself that it has a red arrow, and this designates the front opening of the bunker where you're going to be firing out of, and you're only going to fire out of those 3 hexes. So our bunker is facing in this direction, so you could fire out of this line of hexes or this line of hexes line. So the front encompasses all these hexes, and you can fire out in any of those directions, but you can't fire out along the back side of the counter itself. Also, there's no melee combat between units in a bunker or on the bunker. So what I mean by that is, let's say our American squad here was in the hex outside this bunker. Remember, that's a hex within a hex, so they could not engage in melee combat in this situation. Now, in and on do count as adjacent though, so they would be able to fire at them and get that adjacency bonus while not being able to engage in melee combat. Generally speaking, weapon teams and support weapons that have an ordnance fire table can't fire from inside of a bunker. There are some exceptions like anti-tank rifles or the Piat that the British use in the World War II scenarios. These can be fired from a bunker, but that's going to be annotated inside your scenario booklet itself with the module specific rules. Something else that can be a little confusing for people is that bunkers count as blocking when it comes to spotting, but they don't block line of sight, and they're spotted separately from the hex that they're in. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's say we've got this situation where the American squad is here, and then there's a bunker here blocking off their line of sight to these units. They would still be able to see these units behind the bunker itself because the bunker isn't blocking line of sight for them. But if they wanted to attack the units, let's say that this bunker isn't spotted, if they were making a spotting attempt against it to attempt to attack the units inside of it, they would treat that bunker as if it were blocking terrain, ergo they would need to roll a 2 or under to take and spot it after any other modifiers were accounted for. Also, when it comes to that, good order adjacent friendly units to the hex will spot both. So if our unit were in fact here, our American unit, it would spot, if it's in good order, spot not only the hex, but the bunker that it's in. So if this weren't an open terrain hex that needed to be spotted, if there were units there, move these guys over, all of them would be spotted by having the American unit here, the ones outside the bunker and the ones inside the bunker as well. Something else to keep in mind is direct fire table weapons, small arms or machine guns, stuff like that, can't attack outside of those front 3 hexes. So if our American units over here were wanting to fire into the bunker, they would have to fire in through the same 3 frontal hexes with their line of sight that the bunker has to fire out of. If they're using any type of machine guns or small arms, they could not be behind the bunker and fire into it. However, ordnance fire table weapons can fire from behind the bunker and hit it, and that's just because they have splash damage, so it's considered that it's hitting through the portholes and things like that on the bunker. And mortars and artillery can take and be dropped down onto a bunker, and they would be resolved as normal.